Congratulations on your RipRacer e-bike purchase. This video will be using a Class 3 RipRacer e-bike for assembly, but these instructions also apply to the Class 2 RipRacer. Assembling your new bike is fairly simple and should take less than 30 minutes. Start by checking the outer box to ensure there isn't any shipping damage. Open the bottom of the bike box. Then set the box upright, being sure the flaps are out of the way. And slide the box off of the bike. Lay the foam packaging down with the front wheel facing up. Carefully remove the front wheel. Next, open the foam and remove the parts accessory box. The parts accessory box will include one tri-Allen wrench, a 1.5mm Allen wrench, a screwdriver, 2 wrenches, 2 rear axle covers, 2 front axle covers, a front reflector, a rear reflector, a bell, a right and left pedal, the headlight box, and the battery charger. You will also need scissors or flat side cutters to complete your bike assembly, and a bike pump to add air to the tires if needed. Cut the zip ties securing the handlebar to the bike. Carefully pull the bike out of the foam and pull the handlebars through the opening. Place the bike on the ground, resting it on the fork saver and rear wheel. Carefully check the bike for any shipping damage. Remove the packaging material from around the bike. To install the front wheel, find the 15mm wrench in the parts accessory box. Locate the front wheel and remove the plastic caps from both sides of the axle. Loosen the axle nuts to the end of each side using the 15mm wrench. The axle should have a washer and nut on each side before installing on the bike. If you received an early RipRacer, your axle may also have a retaining clip on each side. Before installing the front wheel, remove the fork saver by hand. Cut the zip tie from around the brake pad spacer. Then remove the spacer from the front brake pads. Make sure the fork is facing forward. The headlight bracket on the fork should be facing the front. Slide the wheel into the dropouts, making sure the washers and nuts are on the outside. The rotor should slide in between the brake pads, and the axle should go into the dropouts fully. If your RipRacer has retaining clips, be sure the safety tabs of the inside retaining clip align into the holes of the dropout. Start tightening the nuts at the same time for a few turns by hand. Then use the 15mm wrench to fully tighten the nuts. Once the wheel is fully installed, put the kickstand down. Locate the 2 front axle cap covers and 2 rear axle cap covers in the parts accessory box. Place the 2 larger axle caps on the rear axle nuts, which are located on each side of the bike. Then place the smaller axle caps onto the front axle nuts. Before every ride, it's critical to check that the front wheel is fully tightened and secure. Be sure to remove the axle caps to check that the wheel is fully tightened. Failure to check the front wheel could result in significant injury to the rider. To install the handlebars, locate the tri-tool in the parts accessory box. Use the 4mm Allen side to loosen the stem bolts from the faceplate. Remove the front plate and bolts. Position the handlebars upright so that the brake levers face forward and the LCD screen is on the left side. Be sure to center the handlebars over the fork. Place the faceplate and bolts on the front of the handlebar and begin to lightly tighten by hand. Maneuver the handlebars until they're in the optimal position for you. Then use the 4mm side of the tri-tool to completely tighten the bolts evenly. Make sure the gap between the faceplate and stem is evenly spaced. Once the handlebars are installed, it's important to check that the brake levers are fully tightened. Use the 4mm side of the tri-tool to tighten both bolts once the brake levers are in the optimal position. On the other side, tighten both bolts on the brake levers. To install the headlight, find the small box within the parts accessory box. Remove the headlight, lock washer, bolt, and nut. You may have spare parts for the headlight, but those are not needed for installation. You will also need the tri-tool and the 10mm wrench. Put the lock washer onto the bolt. Then place the headlight through the bracket. Line up the holes on the bracket with the hole on the headlight and push the bolt through it. Place the nut on the other side of the bolt and begin to tighten by hand. Use the 5mm side of the tri-tool and the 10mm wrench on the other side to fully tighten. Then move the headlight upright and tighten if needed. Find the cable on the bike with the red tip and 2-pin plug. Line up the arrows on that cable with the cable attached to the headlight and connect them. To install the bell, find the Phillips head screwdriver. Remove the bolt on the back of the bell. Wrap the bell around the right handlebar, being sure the lever is pointing toward the back of the bike. Insert the bolt on the back and fully tighten with the screwdriver. Adjust the bell position as needed. To install the front reflector, find it in the parts accessory box. Loosen the screw on the back of the reflector with the screwdriver. Then place it on the handlebar. Insert the screw back in and fully tighten with the screwdriver. To install the rear reflector, find the red reflector in the parts accessory box. Loosen the screw on the back of the reflector with the screwdriver. Then place it on the seat post. Insert the screw back in and fully tighten. To install the pedals, locate both the right and left pedals in the parts accessory box and find the 15mm wrench. The left pedal will have the letter L on it and the right pedal will have R. Make sure you use the correct pedal on the correct side. They are not interchangeable. Insert the right pedal on the rider's right side of the bike and turn it clockwise until it's snug. On the rider's left side of the bike, insert the left pedal and tighten it counterclockwise. At this point, the pedals are not fully installed. Use the 15mm wrench to fully tighten each pedal. It's critical that the pedals are tightened firmly in the crank arm to prevent the pedals from loosening while riding, which will result in significant damage to the bike. Before riding, it's important to adjust the seat height on the bike. Stand next to the bike and open the cam lock. Move the seat height to your hip bone. Then close the cam lock to lock the seat in place. If the seat slides around, open the cam lock and tighten the knob, then close the cam lock. Before heading out, be sure to check the tire pressure and add air to the tires if needed. Next, double-check that all parts and bolts are secure on the bike. Then turn the battery on by inserting your key and removing the top portion of the battery. Click the power button. Then turn the key and push the top of the battery into place. Be sure to check that the battery is fully locked into the frame. If you own a Class 3 RipRacer, turn the LCD on by holding the power button on the back of the display for about 3 seconds. If you own a Class 2 RipRacer, press and hold the main button on the LCD for a few seconds. You're all set to ride faster and farther on your new RipRacer e-bike from Juiced.